All right, we're back here at Inside the SCCA. Technical difficulties. Of course, I am a one-man wrecking crew here, Denny. I I press the buttons, I start the show, and for the first time in 151 episodes, my laptop died.
Because of course it did.
Because of course it did. And I guess I'll be sending that new power supply back to get it replaced. But
you bounce back like a champ. That's what you got to do.
That's okay.
Control the situation.
That's okay. So, all right. So we were talking about turn 6, I believe, when I had to go in for a pit stop here. Where are we at with turn 6?
Yeah, so 6 is just the corner that leads onto the back straightaway that leads you into the S's. And I don't want to wax too rhapsodic on the actual track itself because I really need to go back and drive it. It's been 6 years. So I'm going off of, again, memory and just a very small amount of video I've seen from some other cars. But 6, it's like a Walmart parking lot when you get in there. No, there's no visual references. There's nothing. There's something on the left that can give you an idea of when you want to tap the brakes and when to turn in. But you have to get this corner right. And I think getting it consistent is key. If you can do it the same time twice, the same way twice in a row, you're doing yourself. You're doing it strongly, right?
Right.
Running down into the S's, you have to stay flat through the first right-hander, which I think is an 8. And then it feels like the S's, the radii decrease on you, but I don't think they do. I think it's just because when you carry optimal speed into the S's, it gets real busy real quickly. I think it's around, so 11 is the last left, 12 is the right that leads you out of the S's. I think 11 ends up being the event, right? So 11, you're going to have to do some work. If you're not having to do any work for 11, you probably can carry more speed through 9 and 10.
Got it.
So I would say think of 11 as the one that you want to be like, I'm right on the ragged edge here. And then if you get 11 right, you can make it through 12.
Got it.
13 is a faster, 13 is the right that goes into the little carousel. 13 is faster than you think. The 14, 15, 16 complex, very challenging. A lot of it's going to be gear dependent, what your car is doing. You're going to be leaning on the left front tire horrendously through the 14, 15, 16, I think, or 15, 16 complex. I mean, you're really working the left front tire. The other thing of note is if you swing wide out of 16 onto the front straightaway, they allow you to run over the painted rumbles.
Okay.
And they are substantial rumbles. I would liken them, from memory, I would liken them to a much lower frequency version of the exit rumbles in 1 in Canada and 8 and 5 at Road America.
Okay.
Right? Which are higher frequency rumbles and very difficult on the car. So these I don't think are hard on the car, but as I recall, my goal if I went on them, I had to make sure I had no wheel in the car because otherwise the car was going to skip off to the left and that wall comes up real quickly.
Right.
So the quick summary is recognize that 3, you're going to have to drive potentially defensively or conservatively. There's a race line and a qualifying line for turn 3 in most cases. 6, you want to do everything you can to get the right run through 6 and try to make it consistent because it leads onto a lengthy straightaway.
Right.
You want to carry speed into the S's. And I think ideally 11 is the moment in the S's that you're having to really buckle yourself down for.
Sure.
Carry more speed than you think through 13. And then the 15, 16 complex, get through there as fast as you can, but be cognizant of how hard you're leaning on your left front tire. Because like in the T2 car I'll be running, we are limited for whatever reason by the rules to 3.5 degrees of camber. And it's a 3,600 pound car.
Right.
At like 330 horsepower, and it murders the left front tire. And I think it's going to be horrendous on it through those corners. So you have to be cognizant of what you're doing to your tires in the 15, 16 complex. Those would be the kind of the high levels of the track specifics, but it's flat as a pancake. There's nothing out there. The good thing is there's very little hit, right? Unless you hit that wall coming out out of 16. And remember that it's challenging to execute a pass there. There's no big drafting zones. Turn 1's your best passing zone by a mile. 13 is a big braking zone, but it's preceded pretty quickly by the relatively tight 12, so you don't get a chance to present. So you can get yourself in trouble because a lot of pass attempts happen at NOLA without much presentation beforehand, and that is the whole VOD, vortex of death, right? Make sure you know where you're going.
Right. So the exit onto the main straight, those rumbles, do you remember, are they painted?
The last they were painted red and white, as I recall, and I think they still are.
My suspicion is they probably will be, and we're supposed to get some precipitation. Of course, if those are wet and painted, that may change your decision-making process as to whether or not to use those.
Absolutely, and even best case scenario, let's say they don't put you off on the wall, you're not going to get any traction on them.
Right.
You're just spinning your wheels going on to the only long straightaway on the track. So yeah, I think that will change. That will change the strategy of those exit rumbles drastically. It's a very good point.
Yep. So, all right. So it doesn't seem like it's a lot to think about, but you think about the right spots, and you could probably put together a good lap in a fairly short order. if you haven't been there before. So
yes, there's no blind apexes, there's no cresting corners, there's no off-camber stuff.
Right.
It all presents itself visually to you, which at tracks that are more challenging, they don't present themselves visually. Optically, they're not what they appear to be. This track, what it appears to be is what it is.
Right.
You just have to figure out the optimal way through it.
And how about reference points for like turn-ins and braking points? Is it pretty decent there as far as that goes?
So again, I got to go back and get back out there again because it's been a long time since 2018. As I recall, there are brake markers. Like going into turn 3, there's a like another. It's not an exit road. I think it's another track road that enters there, like another track option.
Right.
I think I was using that for a braking marker, but I don't recall there being actual 3, 2, 1 braking markers.
Got it.
The 5 and 6 area, I don't remember there being many markers. So this is one of the tracks where there's not a bunch of big braking zones. The couple of big braking zones in 1 and in 12, they have braking markers, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or 4, 3, 2, 1, which is helpful. But other places, there are not a lot of good reference markers for you to use visually. Now, you'll talk to a lot of drivers who will say, "Oh man, I don't need reference markers. I don't drive to a reference marker. I drive to where the car needs to go." Which, amen, brother, sister. I totally get that. That's right. You can run an incredibly fast lap there. I will go to my personal grave, and when I do a fair amount of coaching, and I tell people this all the time, I don't use markers or visual reference points to go fast. I use them to go fast consistently.
Right.
And there is a difference.
Right.
So I strongly recommend you that as a driver, you look for those reference markers. My recollection is NOLA has less of them than many other tracks do. And it's just the way the track's laid out.
Well, and the reason I ask is you mentioned it's a Katrina reclamation zone. So a lot of what might have been there before Katrina, trees and all that kind of stuff's probably been taken out, Well,
and I don't know if you knew this, but there was a plan when you're going down the front straightaway, the paddock is off to your left. Down past the end of the front straightaway, past turn 1 in the 3-4 area, I think this is way off to the left, I believe.
Right.
They were going to just raise the land, and they were going to make like a 5-mile version.
Okay.
This road course.
Wow.
It was talked about for several years, as I recall. I don't believe they ever did it.
Right.
But one of the years we went, they had knocked down a whole bunch of trees, and we thought that they were going to do it. I think they might have instead, and this is pure speculation now, they built, I don't know what the international IKF or whatever, but the international karting level kart track is. And they have apparently a spectacular karting. I haven't driven it, but it looks great.
Right.
But apparently it's international track. And I think they might have just said, they were going to monetize that better. They're going to monetize another 3 miles of road course back here on flat, swampland. So as far as I know, they haven't done anything with that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. There's your keys to try to go fast at NOLA. And of course, if you're racing against Denny would love you to go spend Friday and Saturday night down on Bourbon Street. And
all the bourbon.
Enjoy that to the fully extent possible.
Come by my trailer. We're going to have Jack and Diet. We're going to have, trust me. There'll be plenty of opportunity for you to have a rough day on Saturday.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's get back to some storytelling before we wrap up here. And again, I appreciate you hanging with me through my little technical problems, Denny. So tell me a little bit about Three Fast Guys and Denny. How did that come to be?
Because can we talk about other sanctioning bodies?
Oh, sure, absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely.
So
because I know some of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. So love the SCCA, obviously, but I stumbled across the World Racing League.
Right.
I love endurance racing. I really, really enjoy. I think I like personally, and I like endurance racing more than I like sprint racing. If I was given the choice on a weekend, I might choose an endurance race. I just like it better.
Yep.
Strategy, teamwork, just the whole 9 yards. Right. It's not. You're still nostrils flaring the whole time, but it's just different. You have to think about what you're doing. Every decision has a consequence that may not play itself out for 3 hours. It's really a spectacular event. So the World Racing League is a series that came about, 15 years ago. I don't know the numbers, but I mean, probably 8 or 10 years ago, I would bet you could show up in a Spec Miata and win the bottom 2 classes and have a shot at winning overall. That was because it was designed, it originally was created as a whatever you got an IT car, bring your ITA car out and let's run it. You got an M2, bring it, whatever. Let's do whatever you can do, or bring whatever you want to bring. Well, as always happens in motorsports, I say always happens like I know, but as I've seen happen in motorsports, if you come up with a recipe that works very well,
right,
and people enjoy it and they're successful with it, it brings more and more folks there. And when you bring more and more folks, you generally bring more and more folks who put more and more effort and more money into more and more effort, right? So the World Racing League has just escalated and escalated and escalated and escalated. And now if you want to win overall a World Racing League race, there's a 98% chance you will be in a GT4 homologated race car.
Right.
And that is a far cry from where the World Racing League was 8 years. Okay? It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. It is a thing that has to be reckoned with, and it changes the equation, but they still have some down classes. So I said, I got all these spec racer guys that I love to race with. My buddy Russ Turner, who you may know as Russ Turner or Charles Turner or Charles Russell Turner or Russell Turner or Charles Russell Turner, which he was known for what is that? Anyway, I know him as Russ Turner.
Right.
He and I raced together. We've done a ton of races together. I was fortunate enough. There's a whole story I should tell you about how we met, which is great. But I've been coaching him since he started. He's now a national champion, FE2 national champion. I talked to him and said, dude, we got to do some endurance racing. Got a buddy of mine, Richard Stevens, dentist up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Wonderful guy. His son is now going to be racing with us. We've all raced spec racers for a long time. Gentleman that you may or may not be familiar with, a guy named Dave Ogburn.
Oh, yes.
He showed up, bought a spec racer, and I was one of the first guys that met him, I think, when he brought the car out to Motorsports Ranch Crescent. And he had this car. And then he showed up with it orange, and I was like, bro, orange, blue stripes, really? Now I'm like, dude, that thing is all over me. But so Dave Ogburn. So the four of us, we became really good friends, right? And just we decided, I decided, let's do this endurance racing thing, and do you guys want to do it? And they're all like, bro, let's do it. Let's go. So I bought a car, bought a 2013 Scion FRS that had actually raced in SCCA for a while. We tuned it down, took stuff out of it. Russ Turner, Charles Russell Turner, or whatever you want to call him, right?
Russ
out
Turner.
Of Virginia. Russ Turner. He has the ability, he has a shop there that he can do a lot of work on the car. So we had the ability to do a lot of prep work that didn't take shipping a car somewhere and bringing people in. It just was able to live at his shop and get prepped. And that's a game changer. Anybody that's tried to race knows that ability changes your ability to go racing effectively. And it was a godsend. It was great. But now it lives on the East Coast. Long story short, bought this car. We built it into a WRL race car and said, let's go racing. So we went to Barber our very first year. And we had sort of talked about what we were going to name the team. And almost all the stories of Denny, Richard, Russ, and Dave are going to open with the following. So we were drinking, and so almost all the stories open with there was a reasonable amount of some sort of alcohol, yes, that had been imbibed at this point in time. And I'm pretty sure that it was Ogburn. Pretty sure that it was Dave that first said it. But obviously, I had been around longer than any of those three guys.
Right.
Longer than I'm the venerable one, and I had been successful for a long time, and more people knew who I was. Just again because I'd been around a while.
Right.
So the running joke was Dave came up and said, we should name this thing Three Fast Guys and Denny. Yeah, so whatever. So I was like, you know what? I'll lean into that because I like it. They were like, oh, he's not going to like me. No, dude, let's do this. This is going to be a blast. So I thought it'll last for one weekend. Well, we ran that first weekend at Barber.
And what year was that?
That would have been 21.
It's lasted a little longer than one weekend.
Sorry?
It's lasted a little longer.
Good now. We have had multiple teams, I'm like maybe more than a handful, come up to us and say, that's our favorite team name in the paddock. Right? Yeah. They love it. And so my favorite part of the story was at Barber that first week. And we all sat around drunk, named the team Three Fast Guys and Denny. And then it started out the first weekend. I showed up to register because I'm the team principal. So I have to have the paperwork and stuff. And they said, what's your team name? And I say, I answered them. I said, the team name is Three Fast Guys and Denny. And I'm Denny. And the two ladies they were like, oh man, that's rough. I'm sorry. So I was like, this is immediately. I'm like, oh, we got something here. This is going to be fun. So that actually became a running joke. Now they respond. I answered that way and they go, oh man, that's really rough. I'm sorry. So it's a running joke. But we raced in the GP3 class against an NC Miata that had a very fast guy, like a dude he's actually racing spec racers now, super fast guy, but he was running like throwing up dust on the exit of every corner. He was running like it was a sprint spec Miata race.
Right.
Okay. They had another guy that was reasonably quick, and then they had another guy that was newer.
Yeah.
Well, they were racing us, and it was the two of us at the front of the pack all day. And they were racing against Three Fast Guys and Denny. And we were sitting around, they were like 5 pits down. We were sitting around all day joking about, man, they're just sitting down there going, when is this Denny guy going to get in the car? Because all these guys are fast. What's going on here? So we get to the end of the day, they ended up beating us because of another wild-ass story that I would tell you if we had time.
Yeah.
We ended up finishing second. We're talking to them afterwards, and they were like, they came up to us. The first thing they said was, okay, guys, your name is false advertising. Because we spent the last 6 hours looking at each other going, when is the Denny guy going to get in the car? They were saying exactly what we were joking about them saying. So it's been a running joke. And then we went to Daytona in June.
Yeah.
Finished second again because of some other stuff. We lost an axle in the first hour. Went down 14 laps, and we finished second by 13 laps 11 hours later.
Nice.
That's how close we were. We made up a lap. We just couldn't get all that. And we went to the podium celebration at 11 o'clock on Saturday night, and there must have been 60 people there. A ton of people. I mean, that's a lot of people at 11 o'clock at night. And they called 3 Fast Guys and Denny. We went up there, and we're all celebrating, and this one guy goes, "Hey, who's Denny? Raise your hand." So I raised my hand, and they were all like, "Yeah." So it's just become kind of a running joke now, and we've really leaned into it.
Yeah, well, fun. And think about this, though. I'm a huge Olympic sports fan, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The 4x400 relay. The only guy they ever know is the fourth guy. They don't know. You don't know the names of the first 3 guys. Mm-hmm. You look at Michael Phelps in all of the relays he did. Do you remember any of the names of the guys with Michael Phelps?
Nope, you're exactly right.
You know, so you're the anchor, and that's why.
I think I leaned into it.
Exactly.
It needs to be about me.
It's fantastic. It is absolutely storybook.
It has worked out really well, and we tossed around some other ideas, which we decided intelligently weren't going to be the case. That first weekend, we found out how well it was going.
Yeah.
We went back, and I started with some ideas. We bounced around. What we were going to do was the 4 of us are so ludicrously even on pace. I mean, Brian, it's dumb.
Yeah.
Like the 4 of us will run on the qualifying day, and we'll end up like 0.15 of a second apart. It's ridiculous how close we are, right?
Yeah.
And we decided that I said, you know what? It's going to be, we're going to, on the side of the car, it's going to say 3 Fast Guys and then we're just going to slap the name of whoever the guy that was the slowest guy on the qualifying day was, right? But then we realized, wait, if you ever wanted to beat the shit out of a race car, do that. So we said, you know what? We're not going to do that because then we're all going to be racing to get the fastest lap the entire time.
Exactly.
Yeah. All sorts of permutations of 3 Fast Guys and whoever it was going to be. We ended up just staying with the name, and it's now become apparently in the paddock. It's kind of a thing that people get a kick out of. So we're really enjoying it.
Absolutely. So I finally met Dave back in December. We went up to drive the new club spec Mustang that Goodyear's put together.
Yeah.
Because of course Goodyear's the tires for club spec Mustang, and I'd never met Dave before, and I'm thinking, must be the dream job of the world to be a Goodyear test driver, and he spent a lot of time trying to explain to me, I spent a lot of time driving a car listening to if it's too loud or too soft, and doing slow speed lane changes to really kind of dumb down the allure of what it is to be a Goodyear test driver. And yes,
there you go.
There is a lot of that going on. I'm sure that's a good portion of what he does, but then he gets in a race car and just makes us all look friggin' silly.
Oh yeah. So in his in moments of we might have been drinking. In some of his more real genuine moments, Dave has said to me on more than one occasion, he's looked me in the eye, into my soul, and said, "Denny, you don't understand the advantage I should have on all of you guys because he gets to drive all the
every
time.
day.
That's to take nothing away from his incredible skill." But he gets to hone his skill just surgically, right? And now he's got to do a bunch of crap that's probably really boring too.
Right.
But I could do a fair amount of boring crap if I got to go do all that other stuff too. So I do have a funny Dave story I got to tell you.
Well, before you tell it,
go ahead.
And Dave looks like a rock star. Okay, he's got the hair. He looks like the guy.
He's got the hair. Let's just stop there.
And you imagine him pulling off the helmet and the hair doing his thing, but he is
in slow motion.
Exactly. Doing the whole Fabio thing. But he is the nicest, most understated human being. Maybe not before drinking, or maybe not after drinking. But
no, he's still.
But just very unassuming, very humble, and really good at teaching you how to do stuff. By the way, he gave me some little tips. I haven't done much competitive stuff in a long time, and I'm just getting back into it. And I'm looking forward to picking his brain and Morgan Burkhart, who is also a young phenom who you know all about. He's doing
know Morgan very well.
He does some coaching, and he's going to help me get hopefully up to speed a little bit quicker on stuff.
Super excited to see where Morgan goes. He's. I mean, I've seen guys. I'm like, that guy's the deal. That guy's it. Morgan is the real deal. Yeah. I'm super excited. I mean, there's a lot of luck involved. Yeah. I want to see him be successful, but I'm not sure it's entirely in his control. But hey man, I'm pulling for him. Let's see where it goes.
Well, I've known his family for 25, 30 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We used to stay at his family's house. They lived near Summit Point. So all the flaggers would stay at his parents' house to save money on hotels. Right. And I'm pretty certain I stayed at the Burkhart's house when Morgan was in vitro. or in utero, I should say, not in vitro, in utero. I'm pretty
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Beth was pregnant with Morgan on one of those trips. So that's how long I know that family. Great SCCA family.
They're great folks. I'm afraid they saw probably a little too much of our. We might have been drinking side at the runoffs last year, but we had a really good time hanging up with the family. They're solid, great folks. So I wish the best for them. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
So the quick Dave story.
Oh yeah, do it. Absolutely. We got plenty of time.
Again, I'm not trying to throw David, but this is a funny story. So I took my toy hauler to the runoffs at Indy, and was that 21?
Yep.
And Dave said, "Hey man, can I crash in the toy hauler?" I'm like, "I got to hold back after the toy hauler. Just see in the back of the toy hauler, right?" So I'm pretty sure at this point in time, pretty sure that my wife had not met Dave yet. I don't think she knew. I don't think she met. So we talked a bit. Oh, by the way, there's a running joke too. Richard, Russ, and Dave. I'm talking to one of the three of them on the phone all the time, and my wife's moniker. Richard is my girlfriend. Russ is my his girlfriend. His girlfriend, side piece, and I just totally drawn a blank. But he's one of them. They go by different monikers now to my wife. But
gotcha.
I get home with the toy hauler. My wife has helped me unload stuff, right? Towels and everything.
Oh boy.
Yeah, she comes in. She's got a handful of long, dark hair. She's like, "Anything you want to tell me?" I'm like, "Yeah, Dave stayed in the toy hauler with me." She's like, "Oh, Dave?" And I'm like, "Oh, wait, let me get pictures of Dave and show you real quick." And she's like, "Oh, okay, all right, totally fine." And there was hair everywhere. I mean, it looked like I had the best week of my life in my toy hauler. But nope, it was just all Dave. I was like, "Come on, man. You're killing me." Yeah, it's pretty funny. We got a kick out of it.
I love it. It. All right, this is the time where you get to thank the people who help you do what you do. You have any sponsors, family, friends? We've talked about your wife a couple times. Who's on that list of thank yous?
Yeah, so I got to thank my buddy Russ Turner. He helps me. I get to do a lot of cool things because I get to run with him. I met a really genuine dude named Judson Holt. He owns Lupe Tortilla Motorsports. We've been doing some racing together and having an absolute blast. Got to do some really cool stuff last year. Had some work stuff and some family stuff, and I got to go do the summer of You Can't Take It With You. We got to go race the Nürburgring. But I mean, I would say the Lupe Tortilla Motorsports guys, that's a great team. We're having a really good time running with them. It's great running with Russ. All of my friends in SCCA, the Spec Racer crowd in general, and what a great group of people. I know Spec Miata has the group in SMX, but I'll tell you right now, the Spec Racer group, that is the salt of the earth. And I got to thank SCCA, Hoosier, who continues to do the right stuff for us. I love the other tire companies too, but Hoosier, it's great that they continue to sponsor us. And I mean, those are probably the primary ones I would say. But my family for letting me do this insanity for so long. God bless them. They're wonderful people.
All right, Denny, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. We'll get you back on again and tell more stories. That's the fun part about this. I find the storytelling episodes are the ones that get the most views. So
sure.
We'll certainly get you back on. Good luck coming up this weekend at New Orleans at NOLA. And if you get a few minutes, stop up in the booth and shake hands. I would love to see you there. Want to remind everybody to tune in to the SCCA YouTube channel, Saturday and Sunday coverage. We'll have qualifying. We'll have all the races. It'll be Greg Ginsburg and myself, and the folks from Driver's Eye will be putting on all the cameras. And flat as a pancake, racetracks don't always make for the best TV tracks. So caveat emptor right there, but we're going to have a good time doing it regardless.
Just angle the camera, it's just like 20 degrees.
Exactly.
Get all fancy with it.
Make it look fast. We'll try to make it look racy as much as we can. By the way,
you and Greg do great work. We love it. Keep doing what you're doing, man. It's awesome stuff.
Thank you. And to all the associate producers who get in our chat and tell us when we're saying something wrong, join us again. We'd love to have everyone there. So, all right, that is going to do it for another episode of Inside the SCCA. If you are like what you are seeing and hearing, please like and subscribe to the Inside the SCCA YouTube channel. That would be, not the Inside the SCCA, it's the Racing Network on YouTube. That is where you're finding this and where you're watching this. Also, tune into the RacingWire Podcast Network and subscribe there as well. Leave a comment on our Facebook page and anywhere else, as long as it's a good one. And if it's not, put it on someone else's page. Follow us on social media to find out who the next guest is, and all of that other fun stuff on Twitter. It's at RacingWireNet. There's a new Inside the SCCA every week. I'm Brian Bielanski. Have yourself a great weekend. Stay safe and go play with cars.
Nicely done.
I'm Abby Shear, and when I'm on my way to an autocross, I listen to the Inside the SCCA podcast.
Inside the SCCA is a presentation of the RacingWire Podcast Network and Rural 15 Productions. This podcast is not